and all that other stuff was just freebies before. And so anybody who's watching it, you got to show up early to catch all the pre-talk and then the post-talk. So I not to make anybody feel bad, because I know not everybody can be here, but we do have a little chit chat before and after it. One of my favorite things about doing these calls with you guys is just being able to socialize and have conversations. And I know that a lot of people, I'm fully aware that there are a lot of people who have watched and are watching my journey. I am always happy to answer questions. And so I know a lot of people do come also wanting to ask me questions. And I'm always happy to give you answers, and I will answer you as honestly and truthfully as I can. I don't ever see anything I wouldn't. And so anyway, we are going to cover elements 10 and 11. Each of these should have taken about a week to read. They're not difficult ones. They're actually very quick. And one thing that I noticed, I do try to go back and forth between the Life Book and the Habits of Health book. With these two elements, the information that's in the Habits of Health book and what's in the Life Book are almost identical. It's almost like they lifted that information out of the Habits of Health and just put it right into the Life Book, and nothing is different. Like, it's not like there's extra information in there. For the most part, it's all pretty much the same. The other odd thing is that element 10 covers water and element 11 covers the lean and green, but in the Habits of Health, he covers the lean and green first, and then he covers the water, which is kind of strange. But and that's all in like right around 200. Page 208 is pretty much where we're gonna, if I jump back over to Habits of Health, page 208 is where he starts talking about the lean and green, and then 214 is where he talks about water. So I always start with, what is this element going to cover? In element 10, we will discover some of the important factors to pay attention to while you're reaching your healthy weight. Realize the importance of water on your journey to optimal health. Identify the best ways to hydrate during weight loss, and provide you with the tools to plan and track your hydration as it develops into another habit of health. When the Life Book was written, they had a different app. So it was called the Habits of Health app or something like that. I can't remember exactly what it was called. And I don't know how different that app was from the Optavia app that we have now, but it does track, you can track water on that, right? I never used it for that, but I'm pretty sure I haven't opened up the Optavia app in a long time.
Yes, you can track water.
Awesome. I know you can, I know they also added meal tracking and motion tracking and stuff. I pretty much used it for tracking weight, and finding lean and green meals is pretty much what I use the app for. I had used, I know we all use, or most people use the EatWise app to keep track of the times that you eat. I still use that. Drink Water is the one that I used to track my water. But now that I'm using the Fitbit, which also tracks water, I just I can't keep up with all these apps to track. So Fitbit is the one that I'm using now to track my water. But I think one of the most important things is that you have a way to track your water, whether you're a pen and paper person and you want to, fill in little water bottles during the day, or you want to keep track of it on an app. I think that's really important, because it is very easy for us to lose track throughout the day and forget how many bottles we actually drink. A couple of things that I wanted to pull out of what it says in the Life Book is that water is a critical component of your body, making up between 55 and 60% of your weight. That's a huge amount of you is made up with water. And it's something that your body doesn't hold on to. I mean, water evaporates, we use up water, we pee water, we sweat water, water is dispelled when we breathe. There was in one of the books, it talked about how much you lose when you breathe, when you talk, from the bottoms of your feet. There was just some really interesting things that it was talking about. I think it was here. It's in here. I'm pretty sure it was. And so we constantly have to replenish that water. And one of the biggest things that I saw is that it removes toxins from our body. So it helps to remove the toxins that are stored in our fat cells. So it flushes that stuff out. We have to drink water. If you don't drink enough, your body is forced to recycle dirty water, diminishing the efficiency of every metabolic function. I thought that was pretty gross. Drink water. I think this is one of the things that I see a lot in the Facebook groups on social media is, well, can I have blah, blah, blah instead? And we're going to cover that in just a little bit. But what I want to really, I hope that you will all key into the fact that it doesn't just say we need to drink fluids. It says we need to drink water. And water is water. Like, there's water in other things, but it does say drink water. And I think that's super important. We actually lose, yeah, this is where I saw it. We actually lose nearly 12 cups of water every day, 2 cups through perspiration, 6 cups through urine, 2 to 4
that's forecast. Wow.
which is absolutely crazy. And then nearly 1 cup through the soles of our feet. Like, I didn't realize our feet sweat that much that you would lose like a whole cup of water. That's pretty crazy. The number that they always tell us we should drink 64 ounces or 8-ounce glasses. Did you know that's just an arbitrary number? Like, it was just a number that they made up to try to get people to drink more water. It really is. We really should drink more than that. Unless you have, as it said, unless you've got some kind of a medical condition like kidney failure or congestive heart failure, you really want to make sure that you are drinking at least 64 ounces of water, if not more.
Elizabeth?
Yes.
Hey, I'm new to your group here. But
What's your name?
My name's Judy.
Hi, Judy.
But well, number one, y'all are amazing because I always watch things, and I finally got on your newbies where I saw you were doing this. Anyway, that's beside the point. The question I have for you is, I went and had a complete blood workup and stuff because I'm 10 pounds away from my goal, and so I wanted my doctor to do a complete blood workup. But you know what? I drink, and I mean, I am dedicated to drinking 96 ounces plus of water a day. But do you know that my test, there's a level, I guess, that they can test, but it came back that I was dehydrated. And my doctor said, well, they sent me a thing through the portal, said you need to drink more water. I said, oh my gosh, how can I drink more water? I mean, literally, I'm floating.
That's interesting. Could it be, are you on a medication that would?
No, I'm not on anything other than gabapentin for my arthritis. But no, I'm not on anything. I'm 71 years old. I'm not on anything.
Huh.
I mean, nothing. But they're going to do another test on me in a month, she said.
Yeah.
But she knows, and she's real happy that I'm doing this. She's all about Optavia and Optavia. I never know what the correct pronunciation is.
Pretty sure it's Optavia, but
Optavia.
Yeah, I mean, there's all different kinds of ways people pronounce it. So,
but anyway, I mean, I was shocked. It's like, but everything else was great. Everything else was great.
Yeah,
great.
I'm sure it's probably, they're going to test you again and they're going to go, oh yeah, you're fine.
Have you ever heard of that though? I mean, when you drink that much water and then they tell you you're dehydrated.
I am
Lord,
not.
they ought to say,
If anybody told me I was dehydrated, I'd tell them they were crazy.
well, I
My
basically
test
did.
showed
I
that.
basically did. Huh?
So my test showed that too.
Huh.
But that's weird.
That's very strange. Yeah. I've
Yeah.
never heard that before. Well,
Yep.
Okay, move on.
Oh, yep. Go on.
all right. So how much water should you drink? We did that. So I love the list of the reasons why you should drink 8 glasses of water. It's calorie free. So water, that's good. And it helps you feel full and satisfied. So a lot of times when people are like, well, I'm hungry. Well, are you hungry? Or, drink a glass of water and see if that solves the problem. Because, and it's not that, we're trying to create eating disorders and, you should just live on water. But a lot of times it's because we're bored, or a lot of times we're really thirsty. We're not really hungry. And so water can do that for you. It keeps you from overeating. Studies have shown that when we feel hungry, 30% of the time our bodies are actually signaling for water. So that's where I got that from. It facilitates removal of toxins such as pesticides and preservatives from your cells. It prevents dehydration as your body eliminates excess salt and water. It minimizes or eliminates fatigue, lack of energy, headaches, and unclear thinking. Although, which is really interesting, if you want to know if you're drinking too much water, if you have a headache or you're feeling fatigued, you might be drinking too much water. So I don't know. I read that because I was trying to find out how much is too much today. And couldn't really find anything definitive. It speeds up metabolism. This is what I love this. A recent study showed, I don't know when the study was, that drinking 2 8-ounce glasses of cold water increased metabolic rate by 30% for 90 minutes. So to me, before you eat a big meal, drink 2 glasses of really cold water, and maybe that'll speed up your metabolism and help you to burn off some of that Christmas dinner that's coming up. It helps your liver convert fat to energy. So, we all want to burn that fat, and that is helpful. And it compensates for the loss of glycogen stores as you lose weight. So, I don't know all about, I'm not a doctor or a medical professional, but those reasons, for those reasons alone, and for it speeding up metabolism alone, and for it burning fat, like those 2 right there are enough for me to say I'm happy to continue to drink the water. And I do. I drink. I'll talk about that when I get to the strategies in just a minute. At the top of 206, and then I'm going to skip over. I was going to go over to the Habits of Health book on page 214. But honestly, everything that is on 214, like from the middle of 214 to the middle or the top third of 215, is pretty much exactly word for word what's in here. So I don't think there's really anything in here, in there that's not in here. We know that proper hydration is critical for long-term optimal health and well-being. It affects not just our physiology, but also our ability to think, and allows our mind to function at the highest level. And, when we're going through a situation like trying to lose weight and trying to change habits, being able to think clearly and for our minds to function properly, we really need to have that. We really need to make sure that we're thinking clearly. And, if you're struggling, if you're don't have a lot of clarity, maybe you need to drink more water. I don't know how much you're drinking, but that might be something that needs to be done to kind of consider. But it's I said this the other day. Optavia is a great way to lose weight, but if you don't embrace the whole program, if you don't embrace the LifeBook, the Habits of Health, if you don't, and I don't mean you have to, because you all know me, I am right here, and I'm in maintenance, and I'm only on element 11, because this is not like my cup of tea, but I'm doing it to set a good example. I love the habits of health, and that's has been a lot more helpful to me. But following these guidelines and creating habits, you have to create the habits. If you're not willing to change what you were doing before, then you will go right back to where you were before. You have to change. Lizabeth cannot go back to eating bagels for breakfast, sandwiches for lunch, and pizza for dinner. She can't do that. That will never be the way I eat ever again. If I want to stay the size that I am now, I can't go back and do that again. I have to change the way I eat. I cannot eat 3 big meals a day. I have to eat 6 small meals. I have to do that. That is a habit that I created over the last year and a half. And it is a habit that I am continuing in maintenance, and I will continue. I will continue to eat 6 times a day, every 2.5 to 3 hours. I will continue to drink a gallon of water every day. I will continue to eat small, balanced meals. I just have to do that if I want to keep the weight off. If I am like, well, screw it, I'm just going to eat candy and I'm going to have pizza and burgers and French fries and stop at McDonald's and stop at Popeyes and grab donuts at the bakery, I just can't. As much as I love those things, they are no longer a part of my life. And there's some things that I've said this before, things that I'm still mourning the loss of: fried chicken and bread. And I will probably always mourn their loss. But they were not kind to me, and so I really don't need them in my life. But talking about the habit of drinking water, I read an article, and I should have written down where I got the article from, because it was pretty interesting. The 7 best times to drink water. First of all, when you wake up. So the first thing you do when you wake up, you should drink 8 ounces of water. Get your body going, get that water in. Before each meal, drink water. And whether it's those 2 glasses of cold water, or it's, if we're eating 6 times, if you drink 8 ounces of water with each of your fuelings or before each of your fuelings, and you drink a glass of water when you get up in the morning, and you drink one before you go to bed, you've got your 8 ounce glasses, right? We all know you need to do more than that. So before each meal, with food if you need to. If you need an afternoon pick-me-up, and you used to reach for coffee or tea or Coke or whatever, try water instead. That's supposedly good. If you get a headache, drink water. And before, during, and after exercise, and then did say a small amount before you go to bed. And we all know we're up. I mean, who among us is not up at least one time in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom? If you're not getting up in the middle of the night to go, you're not drinking enough water. Because I go before I get in bed, and then I go before I go to sleep, and then I get up at least once in the middle of the night. I'm used to it. My strategy for water, and this is what worked for me, is I have a 40-ounce cup, like an insulated mug, and I fill that up first thing in the morning. And between fueling 1 and 2, I drink 40 ounces. Between fueling 2 and 3, I drink another 40 ounces. So I've got 80 ounces in before noon. I have 80 ounces of water in. The last 40, so I drink another 40, which gets me to 120. I try to get most of it in before fueling number 4. And that, because if I drink too much too late, then I'm up more than once a night. But if I can get that 120 in before fueling number 4, then that last part of the day, I only have 8 ounces to drink to get to a gallon. And usually I do that. And then some is, I'm doing typically a little over a gallon a day. Some days less. But that's my strategy for trying to get all of the water in to make sure that I stay hydrated. What are you guys doing to try to get water in to your day?
I have one of these 32 ounces, and I drink at least 3 of those a day. I try to hit my first one by noon, my second one by 3 p.m., and my third one by 6. And then usually I'll go a little bit more, usually. But that's my goal, to have the first one done by noon, and then 3 o'clock, and then 6 o'clock.
Yeah.
I've got one of those too. I love it. It keeps you,
Me
it
too.
keeps you focused. Yeah, I love it. Love it. Love
Yep.
it.
Anybody else have like time strategies or other strategies for getting water in?
I measured it a couple times. If I drank a gallon, I hit a gallon, I would just fill up my cup all day, and I drink over a gallon. So
Wow.
I drink water constantly, so
Yeah.
I don't keep track of it.
Yeah. I think as long as you know, you like, some people are really good at constantly drinking, and so you've already established that habit of drinking water. It's people who struggle to, we'll hear people say that they're struggling to get the 64 ounces in. And so that's kind of where I think creating that habit, because it is a habit that you have to establish and be willing to make some changes. There are is there anybody who is, I've heard some people say that their job makes it very difficult for them to drink that much water. They either work somewhere where they can't have water with them, like they're cashier at a grocery store and they can't have water at the cash register, or there was somebody on one of the Facebook groups who was an anesthesiologist or works for somebody doing sedation, and she said, sometimes I'm with patients and for a couple of hours and can't get away to drink water. Does anybody have that type of a situation that they've got some strategies that have worked for them that they want to share?
I'm just wondering. Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm a dialysis nurse, and so we can't have water on the floor with us. And so when I do try to sneak off the floor, and for when I have to do my fuelings, so like when I have breakfast in the morning and I drink my coffee usually then and drink some water then, and then 3 hours later I'll sneak off the floor, and then I eat my second fueling, and then I'll drink as much water as I can. And so I have to sneak off the floor, every 3 hours just to try to get my fuelings in and drink as much as I can. But yeah, we can't have the water on the floor with us while we're out on. So I just have to do what I can to sneak back there to get as much water. Or I talk to our boss and ask if I can keep my water jug in her office. So that way it's close to the floor and I can just step in there and get a drink more often. But that's during work is my worst time to get trying to get all my water in. But at home, the jug, we have one of these big 50-ounce jugs, and every place I go, that thing goes with me. So, but yeah, it is hard sometimes.
You've got some strategies that you're working with too, so that's really good that you're not just like, oh, forget it, I can't do this.
Yeah, no, I got it. Yeah, I have to have my water.
I'm just wondering, those people that don't have good, easy access to water during their work hours, what are those called? Like the bladders that you take when you go on hikes or whatever, the water bladders, is that what they're called?
Like a camelback?
Camelback, yeah.
That has the little hose thing. Yeah.
Yeah. That might be something, but I don't know. It's easier for me at work because it's set on my desk all day and it's in my face. If I ever get hungry, I just drink. It's when I'm at home doing stuff at home that I forget to drink it. So I'm just the opposite of that. Of the people that can't have it on the floor or whatever at work.
Yeah, yeah.
Hey,
So one of the things that the other thing is, this is where he kind of talks about healthy hydration choices beyond water. Tea, both iced and hot, or hot and iced, have all kinds of health benefits, but make sure you do not add milk, which we wouldn't do that, right? Which it activates the healthy phenolic compounds, and naturally don't add sugar, of course. Green tea is full of health benefits, from decreasing inflammation, preventing cancers, to improving your learning and memory. He also talks about coffee and how coffee really is not a diuretic. That was a faulty study that was done back in the 60s, I think. Oh, 20s, 1928. So it's a long time ago. But coffee also has lots of health benefits. But at the top of page 209, he gives the list of the things you can drink for healthy hydration. And if you note it, if you read it, purified water, bottled water, RO, which I assume is reverse osmosis water, that would be my guess, tea, coffee, and infused water, which I think he's referring to the infusers that they sell. But pretty much that's it. Like, that's what they're wanting you, that's what he is recommending that you drink. Notice that he's not recommending that you drink diet sodas. He's not recommending that you drink energy drinks or Gatorade, like sports drinks. Like, he's not recommending. As a matter of fact, on the next page, he lists unhealthy hydration, and fruit juice, of course, duh, we're not going to drink that. Sodas, of course, full of sugar. Almond, coconut, and flax milk. That's interesting. That kind of struck me, like, how many people use almond milk? And it's not, I don't think he's saying that almond milk or that they're unhealthy milks, but to use those as your form of hydration is not healthy. Diet soda, energy drinks, sports drinks, and of course alcohol. But it is difficult for a lot of people to break the habit of diet sodas. I would see a lot of Crystal Light this, and as much as you can avoid those things and break those habits and develop a taste for plain water. I do drink seltzer. Most of the water that I drink, at least 120 ounces of what I drink is plain water. And I don't have seltzer until I have had 120 ounces of plain water. But I do like plain, the flavored seltzer. I like unflavored seltzer too, but it's the kind like Waterloo or bubbly or whatever they are that don't, LaCroix, that don't have anything. It's just like a flavor. There's like nothing in them, no sugars or sweeteners or anything. But so that I still consider that water, but I do that still above and beyond because I know the importance of plain water, and as much as you can get that in and avoid those other things. I never used any Powerade, Gatorade. Like I never needed to have it, and I don't really understand why people need it. Maybe somebody can explain that. Why would somebody need to have Gatorade or Powerade, or like why, oh, I need to take, what kind of electrolytes is everybody taking? Well, I never once needed electrolytes while I was on the program. Maybe I needed them and I didn't know I needed them, but I lost weight completely fine without taking anything. So I guess my biggest takeaway from element 10 for me was, create the habit, drink plain water. That's kind of what I pulled out of that. What did you guys all pull from that particular process, that element?
I understood it that way as well, but I was under the impression that with Optavia that we could have a Gatorade or Powerade Zero, especially if you worked out or were sweating, but that like one a day or something. I was under the impression that was okay.
It does. As a coach, what I have been told is that for somebody who is starting, they're in their first week and they're struggling. They're with lightheadedness, headaches as their body is going through basically detox, and you're adjusting to this new way of life, that that having the Gatorade Zero, Powerade Zero, whatever, can help, especially like with headaches and lightheadedness and stuff. I don't see anywhere in the life book, in Habits of Health, in the guide, that says you can have one of those every day. Like that's not there. It's not listed in the optional snacks. It's not like, it's just not there. So to me, and you know me,
Right.
I go by what Optavia says in their materials. And if I can't find it, then it must not, it has to be somebody else's interpretation, or somebody else's addition to the plan. And that's not something that I'm going to encourage my clients, or you guys, to do something that's not from Optavia. So yeah, at the beginning of your program, if you're struggling with headaches, and sometimes, going to this low calorie can be a struggle at first, especially for people who are eating, 4,000 calories a day, and now they're all of a sudden eating 900 calories a day. It's a big difference. And so that's one of the reasons I think why the Gatorade was an option. And Carol, I don't know when you came in, but I'm so glad you made it. I was saying before we started that Carol wasn't able to come before because she had to play flute practice, and now she's here. So I'm excited that you made it tonight. So just wanted you to know, I see you. I see you. I know you're here. So that's my thought. I'm not Optavia. I'm just a Optavia user. I am a coach, but you all know, and I've said this before, being a coach, there's nothing magical about being a coach. Anybody can be a coach. You just pay the money and you're a coach. I just know, for me, I've done the research, I've done the reading, I have read the guides, I have looked for that, and it's not there. So, make of that what you will.
Okay.
Like I always say, it's your journey, right? So you and every coach is going to give different information, which is a little scary. But I will say, if you can get by with plain water, you should get by with plain water. That's probably the best, based on what I just read here in the life book. Anyway, that's what I think. So, but if you drink Gatorade every day, I will love you anyway. All right. Anything else about water before we look at element 11? This is my favorite one, because it's about food. It's the lean and green. And you all know how I feel about lean and greens. So element 11, how do you eat healthy beyond fueling? So we're eating 5 fuelings a day, or you guys are eating 5 fuelings a day, and 1 lean and green meal. So start learning to eat healthy when buying food, as you are zoning in on reaching your healthy weight. Understand the importance of your lean and green meal. Discover how to create a new 4-part shopping list that supports your healthy your habits of health transformation. And I'm not going to read a ton of this, so I'm going to skip what's on page 216. You guys can read all that anyway, but these were a couple of things that just really popped out at me. At the top of 217, he says, think of this meal as your training wheels to making healthier food choices. This is, for 5 of your 6 fuelings, they're being given to you. Yes, you have to add water, you have to throw them in the microwave or the air fryer or the oven or the waffle maker or whatever. You do have to actually do something to a lot of them. But it's not really cooking. Like you're not having to do a lot of prep for it. You're not having to go to the grocery store and buy anything. But for the lean and green, that is 1 meal a day that you should be using that meal to start to learn what does a healthy meal look like. And for that reason alone, you shouldn't rely on, I'm not saying you shouldn't have, but you shouldn't rely on the tastes of home packaged meals or eating out at restaurants. Yes, you can eat out. You totally fine to do that. Totally fine to have those tastes of home. But I don't think, if you're going to learn the habit of creating healthy meals, learn to create the meals and do those things when you need to in a pinch. You're working and you've got to take something that's quick, or you've got a company event and you've got to be out at a restaurant. Learn how to go into a restaurant by all means and learn how to make healthy choices in a restaurant. But it is really important that we remember we're taking care of ourselves, and part of taking care of ourselves is feeding ourselves and making sure that we're feeding ourselves healthy, nutritious, nutrition dense, I think was something that I had circled somewhere that jumped out at me, that we're not doing when we're eating fast food, when we're eating processed foods from the store. And he says, we're removing all the unhealthy store-bought processed foods from your diet. Please hear that line. How many times people have said, and this is going to be the whole, I know not everybody agrees with me, but I should have found, and I didn't find, where he says in Habits of Health, where he talks about sausage and turkey, pepperoni, and things like that, where he says that it's not, I'm going to find it and I will let you guys know where it is, because it's in Habits of Health. We need to remove those things from our diets. We need to get rid of things that are processed, things that, and yes, the fuelings are processed, and that's by design, that those things are processed so that for 1 meal a day, you eat whole lean proteins, whole vegetables, healthy fats, and not things that are processed, that are, whether they are organic or they're made with turkey or whatever, they're still overly processed and they're not healthy for you. It's going to bug me that I don't know where it is, but I'm not going to take the time to look at it. I will send it. I will post it though. But do as much as possible, you need to remove those things from your diet. So he talks about, how do you shop for your lean and green? Well, you're looking for 4 basic things. You're looking for lean protein. You're looking for healthy fats and oils. You're looking for green vegetables and salads. And you're looking for healthy snacks and condiments. So shopping for lean proteins, you should be looking for the leanest of lean meats as much as possible. Yes, occasionally you are going to have some things that may be a little higher in fat. You might occasionally have ground beef, or have a steak. I would have a steak every once in a while. But the majority of my lean protein comes from fish whether it's salmon, which tends to be higher in fat, but it's still very good for you. It's a good fat. I do eat tuna and swordfish and cod and some shrimp. I don't do a ton, but I do some of that. When I'm in Florida or Alabama, I eat grouper almost every night. I love that stuff. But healthy seafoods, I do a lot of chicken and turkey, lean pork, and occasionally some beef and lots of venison. My husband hunts, and so and that's leanest of lean. So as much as you can eat your own proteins, right? So don't buy sausage, meatballs, that kind of stuff. It's full of additives, preservatives, nitrates. They're stuff that is just not good for you. So try to avoid those. Grill, bake, broil, poach your proteins. That's important that you're not frying them, obviously. I mean, you guys know all this. But when you're looking for your protein sources, try to go for the leanest of lean. And then he talks about meat alternatives. This always made me laugh because I was never you would never call me a vegetarian ever. I love vegetables, but I would never be a vegetarian. I one time while I was on 5-in-1, I was like, I'm going to do tofu because I want to learn how to, I'm going to do some meatless meals. And do you know how much tofu you need to count as a lean? 15 ounces. That's like a pound. Like it's an ounce less than a pound. It's basically an entire block of tofu.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a lot for someone who didn't ever. I think I may have had tofu one other time in my life. I had to eat an entire I was like, yeah, no. I will eat a meal that's made with tofu if somebody else wants to make it, but yeah, I'm out on that. And it wasn't bad. I mean, it didn't taste bad. It was just so much to make it for my lean that I don't know. It was not for me, but I know a lot of people like it. And I would eat. I'm not saying I didn't like it. I wouldn't cook it for myself if I was doing a lean and green meal because it's just way too much. And even like eggs, like 2 cups of egg whites is a lot. Even now, when I do, I will do sometimes at lunchtime. I will do some like mushrooms and spinach and zucchini or peppers, and then I will add a half a cup of egg whites, and that makes like just a half a cup makes a very filling omelet like that. So 2 cups is a lot of egg whites to eat. On page 222, he talks about healthy fats and oils. And the one thing I want to reiterate to everyone is that healthy fat is not optional. So, you have to eat your lean, you have to eat your green, you have to eat the healthy fat that goes along with the, Patty, you're my new best friend. Hang on. She said, where did it go? It's hiding. Page 250 of Habits of Health. I'm going to go there right now before I go any farther. I knew it was somewhere, and I really appreciate that. Okay, yeah, at the bottom of 250 and over to 251, unhealthy proteins, a habit of disease. With our processed lunch meats, hot dogs, and hamburgers, most of us eat far too much protein that's high in saturated fat. Foods like these stimulate inflammation and have a profoundly negative effect on your heart, your blood vessels, and your brain. They create oxygen-free radicals that attack the lining of the vessels in all your organs and contribute to heart disease, high blood pressure, strokes, and cancers, and accelerate aging. One of the largest studies of this kind found that those who ate just 1 daily serving of processed meat, a hot dog, or 2 slices of bacon had a 20% greater chance of dying during the 28 years of the study. To make matters worse, we stick these fatty meats on the barbie to char them. This creates extremely dangerous substances called advanced glycation end products, which can make these foods up to 200 times more immunoreactive and which also attack your body with a vengeance. Blah, blah, blah. Like, seriously, Stay away from processed meats. Down under poultry, he says, chicken, turkey, and other forms of poultry are healthier choices than red meat, but be careful. The health value and calorie content of poultry can vary significantly depending on the type of bird, which part you eat, and how it is prepared and cooked. For example, while a skinless turkey breast is 18% fat, the fat content of a skinless chicken breast is 24%. And manufactured processed products like sausages, hot dogs, and burgers made from turkey and chicken aren't really much healthier than their meatier counterparts. So you're really not doing yourself any favors by saying, oh, well, it's a turkey sausage. Oh, well, it's turkey bacon. Oh, well, it's, if it is processed. And when I think of processed, I think of they're adding something to it. So you can go to the grocery store and buy like ground beef patties. It's just ground beef, right? Or ground turkey patties. It's just ground turkey. That's it. But when you go into Trader Joe's and you buy their mahi burgers, it's not just the fish. There's other stuff in there that is processed, and that's what you should not be having, right? So if you want to have sausage, get some ground turkey and you add your own seasonings to it. Add some sage, add some garlic, add some lemon zest, make a sausagey kind of something to have, patties to have. Do it that way, or you get a lean ground pork and make lean ground pork sausage. Do the same thing. Add your own, so you're not adding the preservatives and stuff that they use when they make store-bought sausage. Thank you very much for finding that page. I appreciate that. So back to healthy fats, make sure that you are having those healthy fats. If you are eating something from the lean category, you don't get healthy fat. But if you go from leaner, you should have a healthy fat. If you go from leanest, you should have two. And again, they're not optional. Your body needs to have that fat. Fat helps your body absorb fat-soluble vitamins such as A, D, E, and K, and contributes to gallbladder health. And I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of people have gallbladder issues, is that they're not eating enough fat. So make sure that's because that's why a lot of times when people go on diets, they end up having gallbladder attacks. I'm one of the very few people. I had my gallbladder out in 1997 while I was pregnant. That was really fun. I'm one of the few people whose body still makes gallstones without a gallbladder. It's not a lot of fun. I have to go in every 7 to 8 years and have my bile duct enlarged so that the stones can keep passing through, because when they get stuck, it is extremely painful. All right, so there's another little tidbit about me. And then, so healthy fats, and then green vegetables and salad. He says, this is where he says nutrient dense, low glycemic carbohydrates that support your health. So vegetables, stick with the ones that are on the vegetable conversion chart. There are some that you can't have while you're on 5 and 1. It's okay. They'll still be there when you come off. Things like Brussels sprouts and sweet potatoes, beets and carrots, they'll still be there. And he's not saying that they're not healthy, but they're just higher in carbohydrates. And so stick with the ones that are lower in carbohydrates while you are working to lose weight. The closer to the lowest carbohydrates that you stay, the better it will be. If you are struggling, if you feel like your weight is kind of stagnated and you're not losing, that's when you can look to make sure, maybe for a week or two, stick to the leanest lean and the lowest carbohydrate vegetables, basically celery, cucumber, lettuces, mushrooms, radishes, sprouts, and turnip greens. And if you have not ever roasted radishes, you are missing out. I'm telling you, if you don't think you like radishes, go buy a little bag of radishes, trim them up, give them a little spritz with some ham, and roast them at 375 for about 25 minutes. And I promise you, they're sweet and juicy, and they are not peppery and bitter like they are when they're raw. So I'm telling you, roasted radishes are amazing. The fourth category is the one optional thing, and that is the healthy snacks and condiments. You do not need a healthy snack. And if you have one, you should only have one. And it should come from that list: 3 stalks of celery, a fruit-flavored sugar-free popsicle, not a fudgesicle, a half-cup serving of sugar-free Jell-O gelatin, not pudding, up to 3 pieces of sugar-free gum or mints, 2 dill pickle spears, a half an ounce of nuts, right? And also one of the Optavia fuel snacks; those are also allowed. Condiments are also there, and the rule for condiments is it should not have more than 1 gram of carbohydrates. My husband's grinding coffee. 30 calories or less, 1 gram of carb or less. And that's the best way if you're in the store and you're not sure if it is something that you can have, check that out. And look, just learn to look at the labels, right? Learning to read labels is really important. And that's the one thing that I do all the time when I'm looking at, I want to have a sauce for something. I look at that label and make sure, if the carbohydrates are off the chart, it goes back on the shelf. 1 gram of carbs, 30 calories or less, and that you can use it as a condiment. I think somebody asked the other day about enchilada sauce, and that was my response to them. I don't know what, because there's different ones out there. And so that's why some things don't show up on the condiment list exactly. They don't list every single thing that you can have because it varies by the recipe. So just learn to look at those labels. Any questions on any of that? On lean and green meals? On condiments? No. Any other questions? Any random questions?
You still measure everything after being on maintenance?
I do.
You do?
Well, I would say 90% of what I eat, I measure. I made tacos tonight for dinner, and I made my cauliflower taco shells. So those, I don't, I did have a little bit of refried black beans, but I didn't measure it. I just kind of eyeballed. I maybe had like 2 tablespoons in there. So I like some of them, I don't have a weight for that to measure, but like I do weigh my proteins. I weigh, if I'm having cheese on something, I weigh it because I record everything that I eat. So I will put in, 2 tablespoons of black beans in my app when I put that in, because I haven't done dinner yet in there yet. But yeah, it's accountability for me, because I think it's very easy to, when you start eyeballing things, to be a little bit more generous, and then you have to.
Yeah.
So for me, I don't want to get to that stage where I go like, oh wow, I've been having twice what I should be having. If I just measure, that scale stays on my counter all the time, and my husband's used to me measuring my dinner before I sit down and eat. I just do that. If I'm out at a restaurant, I don't do that. If I'm somewhere else, that's when I will tend to eyeball. But 95% of the meals, maybe 99% of the meals that I eat at home. We almost never eat out. We almost never are somewhere else for dinner. So it's pretty rare for me to not weigh what I eat. And I still, like my oatmeal that I make in the morning, and I measure that, and I measure my blueberries, and I measure, like everything gets measured. Everything.
The condiments and everything. So
Yeah, I don't use a lot of condiments. Like I guess maybe not the condiments as much, because now that I'm eating more than just one lean and green, I will throw a little sprinkle of salt or a pepper, or or I'll do a tablespoon of salsa on something. I will record it, but I don't I don't say, oh, I can only have 3 condiments, because that's not, once you're on maintenance, that's not a rule. That's for 5 and 1. So I can have all the condiments I want, but I still record everything, and everything has calories, everything adds up, and I don't go over, I stay way under my calorie limit. Yeah. So I keep my girlish figure.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that when I'm on maintenance, but we'll see. We'll see.
You find what works. You find what works, and you just constantly, you know, I've told you this before. I'm a weigh every day girl, always have been. It was not a discouragement for me. It's keeps me accountable, and so I continue to do that, so that I know if my weight goes up, I'm like, oh, I need to, instead of eating 1,300 calories today, I'm going to back down to like 1,150, and usually it's like a day or 2 of that, and I'm back to where I was. So it's that's accountability for me, is the scale. And I know now I've developed these skills to say, oh, I know how to take the weight off and not let it snowball and get out of control. So that works for me. Anybody else?
What program do you keep track of all your food?
What?
What program do you use to keep track of your food?
I use an app that's called Prosper, and it's spelled Prospre, not PER, but PRE. The logo is it's purple, purple and white. And I use the free version. There's also a paid version, but I don't need the paid version. It does enough for me to be able to enter what I eat.
Did you start that in transition or maintenance?
I started, well, the last week or 2 of transition, I started doing it just so that I could get into the habit of doing it. But in maintenance, I am daily on there recording what I eat every day to stay accountable. So, yeah.
Did you spend the time entering in your recipes to that app in order to?
So what I do when I am making something, like I did cabbage spaghetti the other day, which there's a video coming of that one. Like it literally is in my app to edit tomorrow morning. So that one's coming. I plug I use this website called Happy Forks, and you can put in a recipe and it will give you all of the macros and nutrients, and like everything, all of the levels of vitamins and everything. It's called Happy Forks. And so I will enter a recipe in there, and then I write down, that's how on my YouTube channel, when I did recipes, at the bottom in the description box, it'll tell you how many calories, fat, carbs, protein, whatever. And I figured that by using Happy Forks. So I just input the recipe, and then all I have to do on the Prosper app is put in cabbage spaghetti, homemade, and put in the calories, fat, protein, carbs. And then in 2 months, when I have cabbage spaghetti again, I just have to search cabbage spaghetti and it will pop up with a star on it, because it's my recipe. So it'll be a star for me. So that way I don't have to do it over and over again. Like, you know, there are things that I make all the time, like turkey chili or my cauliflower pizza crust, like those kinds of things. I have figured those things out and then entered them into the app. Yeah. So I don't have to go and do the whole recipe in there. I think I tried to do that one time and it was a little frustrating. And I was like, I can do this in an easier way. And because I really like Happy Forks and it works really well. Anything else? All right. Thanks for coming, guys. We're going to do, I think what we will do is hopefully you guys can plow through two elements in the next week. And I know you're supposed to do 1 a week, but you can get through 12 and 13 this next week. And if we can just go ahead next week, and I'll schedule to do 12 and 13. And then we'll have a few weeks to work on 14, which is a longer one anyway. So let's plan on do that. And
So you're saying the 19th?
yes. Yes, on the 19th. I'm writing it down right now. Zoom. Elements 12 and 13. All right. All right, yeah, because we did 10 and 11. All right. Yep, and also I'll get that set up. And if you need anything in between now and then, please know you can always send me messages on Facebook. You can email me, you can call me.
I gotta catch up. I gotta catch up with y'all.
Oh, all right. You do that. Take your time, but come, even if haven't read through it, still come anyway. And I mean, you'll pick up things that, take notes in your book. And then when you get to it yourself and you read through it, you'll have some little extra notes for it. So
I'm a slow reader. I'm just slow, but I'm really studying it though as I go. So
yeah. Good. That's important. That's how you develop those habits. So, and we're almost
Right
halfway
on.
through. So I can't believe we've made it this far. We're still hanging on. All right, guys. Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Got some new
Thank you.
faces. It was nice to Andy. It was nice to see you. And Sharon, I know you're here, but I didn't see your face. And Willia and Cindy are here, and so I'm glad to see some new faces and some old faces. You good old people, and we will see you again. But do let me know. I'm around. I took a little YouTube hiatus. I just needed to not make for a few weeks. It's like 2 weeks ago I actually recorded a reality check, and then I was just like, I just can't edit this. So yesterday I deleted it. I was like, I'm just going to do a new one, and there we go. So you got one yesterday. All right. I will see you guys next week then. Have a great night.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye-bye.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank
Welcome,
you.
guys. Bye.